Hello and welcome to episode 19 of View from the Sideline podcast. It's Chris here and Rich is here as always.
Hi Chris, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Did you have a good Christmas?
Yeah, I did, mate. Yeah, relaxing. You?
Yeah, it was not too bad. Thank you. Watched probably too much football to be honest, but there was a lot of it on.
I bet you were. I bet you were up at the crack of Christmas Day watching A-League highlights or something.
there were matches, but not matches.
Morning.
Yeah, not matches on Christmas Day, but yeah.
No.
But yeah. So, what is coming up on this week's podcast?
Well, today, we've got the weekly teaser, so that's that back for the new year. And then we haven't really got a Premier League review as such, but we've got a review of all the football that's happened here. So quite a few matches to have a look at. So we'll pick out our highlights from over the festive period, and then we've got a quick review of the EFL, so we can let the listeners know how the tables are looking. Then in part 2, we'll do just a quick summary on the predictions, because they have continued over Christmas. So you may have seen on Facebook there, we've been posting them on there. And then we're going to finish off with a bit on Yeovil, I believe, Chris.
Yeah, we've
with the troubles they've got at the moment. I mean, you're a lot better placed to comment on it than I am, but I'll give it a go.
Yeah, well, we earlier this week I reached out on Twitter to get some fans' opinions and got some rather interesting replies. So we'll go through some of those as well as my what I would say my own experience of what's happening with the club at the moment. But that is for part 2. Anyway, we'll crack on straight into the teaser. It's a pretty simple one. I'm not going to lie, Rich. I thought
we're easing ourselves back in, so can't be anything too difficult.
Ease yourself back in. So, Rich, can you tell me the 2 players who scored 4 goals between the 26th of December and the 3rd of January? So that's 4 goals between the 26th of December and the 3rd of January. They were the most goals scored by one player. 2 players, in fact, because two players managed to do it.
So the December just gone, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the box. So from Boxing Day's fixtures to the end of the Man City Liverpool game on Thursday.
Okay. Do I get a division that they're in, or?
Oh no, yes, it was Premier League. Sorry. Yeah,
I was going to say, I think you underplayed that, to be honest. I thought it was going to be a lot easier than that, but leave it with me and I'll have a think.
All right. Okay. So so we're going to go into some of the festive football now. So, well, I guess we should start quickly with the Premier League table, and obviously Liverpool top of the table, 4 points clear. But obviously that game last Thursday against Man City was probably the biggest game of the season, I would say, for both clubs so far. And it was an okay game. I didn't think it was that bad, but I think Man City desperately needed to win that to keep their title chances going, really. But did you catch the game, Rich?
Yeah, I saw the majority of it. I agree with you in the respect of if Liverpool had won it, I think they would have gone 10. I think it was 10 points clear.
It would have been 10 points, which is a huge lead.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a huge lead in the respect of they hadn't lost the game up until that point. And if the result had gone in Liverpool's favour, I think it would have been City's 3rd defeat in a row. So the way Liverpool are playing at the moment, you can't give them a 10 point lead going into the second half of the season. So I think it was a must-win game for City. But I think even more maybe as a neutral, it just keeps it alive a bit. I guess, well, from a Spurs point of view, it's probably a decent result as well, because it kind of keeps them in the hunt. But
Well,
um,
yeah, you
and
look at
it was an
yeah,
edgy game. It wasn't as free flowing as you would expect from the teams that were playing and the goals they've scored.
yeah.
But I think that was going to be expected. There was always going to be a bit of nerves around it, I think.
It was a good game, but obviously, like you said, the result helps Tottenham quite a bit. Obviously, Tottenham in third at the moment. You're only 2 points behind Man City. I think you have been going above them, haven't you? A little bit. Obviously, when you've been playing at the earlier games than what they have, you have been moving up into second. But
Yeah, we've been yo-yoing. I think we've been in second a couple of times, but like you say, it's more for the fact that we've been playing before City. But I mean, the Spurs Wolves game was one that I was going to pick out from the Christmas period. I mean, basically because it almost takes you back to the old days with Spurs, really, when there's these games that they should on paper. I mean, they should have won that.
yeah.
Really, I know Pochettino's record, unfortunately, is now gone, which I like to
Oh yeah, I forgot. I totally
continue to
forgot.
talk about. So yeah,
I
that's the first promoted club that he's
totally
lost
forgot
to.
about that. You didn't tell. You
Yeah,
didn't mention that. Funny.
no, I
Funny. You didn't
didn't.
mention that.
No, I didn't. I'll only mention it while the record was still intact.
Yeah.
But that if you kind of if you if you gave if Spurs had won that game, then they'd be right in it. I mean, having all played the same amount of games, there would have been a point above City and only three behind Liverpool. But it's it wasn't a great result. Fair
No.
play to Wolves. I mean, Wolves played well. They kind of Spurs struggled in the second half, and Wolves sort of blitzed them with the three sort of quick fire goals. But the thing I enjoyed coming out of that from a Spurs point of view was the next game away at Cardiff, when it could have been a possible banana skin. And I know Cardiff don't, or especially didn't in that game, defend particularly well. The fact that Spurs got a 3-0 win on the back of it um, sort of was a good thing for me. It was a good result.
No. Yeah. They need. It's just one of those things where you just need to bounce back, don't you? Um, from obviously after losing to Wolves, it was like when similar to when Chelsea lost to Wolves and then they beat Man City the next game. It kind of makes you think, well, how was this? How did we lose
Yeah,
that
but
last game? But
and Wolves will beat Wolves will beat big sides this year. I mean, I just give you a few of the games that stand out for me, sort of over Christmas. Obviously, the City Liverpool one,
yeah,
not necessarily because it was a very exciting game, sort of end to end, but just because of the magnitude of it, really. As I said, the Spurs Cardiff one. I mean, Spurs were scoring for fun over Christmas.
I was just
The
about to say you got
the
11 goals in two
6-2.
games, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean the 5-0 at Bournemouth. Well, I think because of the previous result, the Everton result, it was sort of amplified a bit. I mean, Bournemouth had their chances. I'd even sort of say that it flattered Spurs a little bit, 5-0. Although they were pretty ruthless. I mean, 5-0, you kind of think that it was so one-sided, but I don't necessarily think it was. The one for me was the Everton 6-2. I mean,
Away as well. Yeah.
that was an unbelievable game. I remember phoning you sort of when they were 3-1 up, and you didn't even realise that Spurs were winning because you hadn't looked at it. And then it just sort of went on from there. It's some unbelievable football. An absolutely great result for Spurs, that one. But there's a couple of others. I mean, Leicester beating Man City. I mean, that was a great result for Leicester. Bit of an upset.
Wasn't the only team that Leicester beat over Christmas.
No, well, no, I'll come on to that. But that I thought that was a good game. Liverpool 5-1 against Arsenal. I mean, what a performance that was. I mean, I think
How bad Arsenal was so bad though, weren't they?
yeah, I think
Like,
well, we had that one in the predictions, and I think I
yeah,
went for a score draw, which was massively misplaced. I just put another couple out. Cardiff beating Leicester away, bearing in mind that Leicester had come off the back. I think they'd beaten you guys,
they
hadn't
beaten
they?
us. Then they
Then they'd
beaten
beaten
Man City.
City.
Yeah, they lost to Cardiff.
Then
Yeah.
they lost to Cardiff, but then they went and won at Everton. So um, Palace beating Wolves 2-0 away. That was a real surprise for me. I thought that was a bit of a home banker, but fair play to
Because
Palace.
Wolves had only lost against Liverpool when they played Palace in the last 6 games. They'd only lost to Liverpool. They'd beaten Tottenham, Bournemouth, Newcastle, and Chelsea. So
Yeah. So
that was a
that
surprise.
yeah, it was a bit of a surprise result. I have put Chelsea 0, Saints 0. Not a great game, but
Awful
the,
game.
the thing that got me with that was if you're a Saints fan or a player, anyone associated with the club, really, you go to Stamford Bridge and get a point, which you think's a really good result, and you end up falling into the relegation zone because of other results. I found that a bit strange.
Well,
And for me, the game of the over Christmas, well, I'd probably say it was the half. Was Bournemouth 3, Watford 3. What a first half that was. 3-3 it finished,
yeah,
but it was
yeah.
3-3 it was 3-3 at half time, so no second half goals, but
Watford haven't done too
what a
badly over
game.
Christmas, have they? They've only really lost. Well, they lost to Chelsea, and they've had 3 draws, 2 wins, and a loss in the last 6 games. It's not too bad,
Yeah, I mean they
considering
after
not
yeah, so
they'd had a pretty bad run.
they got a point at
Or
home at Newcastle just before the new year. That was after the 2-1 defeat by you guys. But just mentioning Watford, I mean, if you take United's form out of it since Solskjaer went in, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a second,
I've got a few
Watford
things
are
on that.
Watford are right in there. I mean, they're level with Wolves at the moment, only 2 points behind Leicester in seventh. So
Well,
yeah,
I think that
decent season.
I think seventh will probably get you a Europa League spot because I think the FA Cup and the League Cup will be won by teams between 1 and 6 anyway. So I think 7 you might be able to get
Well, yeah, I mean, but
because Ever
live
have you got it with
live update
Everton?
just quickly on the EFL Cup. City are 4-0 up, and it's just coming up to half time, so it's going to be a Man
So
City.
Man City are in the final then.
Yeah, it's going to be a Man City Spurs final. So yeah, you're right. The Europa League places will probably drop. You're not biting, Chris. Why are you not biting?
Because there's a second leg. Well, for Burton, probably not, but for Chelsea there is.
Well,
Anyway, I've got a few
just
games.
means we beat you by more. Anyway, carry
So,
on.
highlights. Well, at the bottom, obviously Fulham beating Huddersfield by a goal to nil. Neither team have been impressive in the last sort of 10 games, but I think that game.
Was that the one with the penalty drama where they missed the penalty? There was a bit of an argument. Was it
So the
Mitrovic
82nd.
and
Yeah.
Kamara?
So Kamara missed. Yeah. So he missed the penalty, but Mitrovic scored in the 90. I think it was like 90th minute. I think. But yeah, Huddersfield. I can't even remember the last time Huddersfield won a game because they've not picked up a single point since we last did a podcast.
And
Um,
you know who they've got next, don't you? Huddersfield away at
uh,
Cardiff.
Cardiff. So they've got. Oh god, they've got their next games are Cardiff away, City at home, Everton at home, Chelsea away, and Arsenal at home.
Yeah, I just very quickly on that because I know it's something we've spoken about before. Huddersfield losing their last 5 games, but we've spoke quite a few times about the goal difference down at the bottom and Fulham with the amount of goals they've conceded. So if you think how bad Fulham's goal difference was, Huddersfield are only 4 goals away from it now.
It's
So
just because they
Fulham have.
can't score. That's the problem for
Yeah, well,
Huddersfield.
Fulham at minus 28, but Huddersfield are at minus 24. And we're always sort of speaking about how many goals Fulham have conceded. Admittedly, they have conceded 10 more goals than Huddersfield, but it's the goals for which is going in Fulham's favour now. So
Yeah,
not only are Huddersfield 4 points adrift from them, but the goal difference is sort of evening itself out as well. So
yeah. So where was okay? So let's talk a bit about Man United. So obviously, and I think it's the last podcast before we broke up. I think Mourinho had had been sacked, so I don't think we got round to actually seeing Solskjaer's first game against Cardiff. Obviously, they are playing a lot better under Solskjaer. Obviously, I think there was definitely something going on behind the scenes with Mourinho. I think players like Paul Pogba is 10 times the player he was now than what he was under Mourinho. He's had such a good Christmas period.
But just as a quick question, though,
Yeah.
Chris, just very quickly,
I do
what
have
do you
a
think?
well.
But what's the difference?
Yeah,
Because
that's
he's got the same
He's got the
players.
same players, yeah.
Whether he was playing them or not
Yeah.
is one thing, but they all look like they care, whereas they didn't with Mourinho.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think they've got the motivation behind them now, and I think his first game in charge against Cardiff away, I think that was he had to win that one to get them going, I would say. But in saying that, they've played Cardiff, Huddersfield, Bournemouth, and Newcastle. They've won them all, but they are teams that you would expect them to be beaten. So it's going to be interesting. I'd say when they obviously their next game, the next game is you away. So
yeah, absolutely. But I think you say that, but even with Mourinho, they went to West Ham and they I think it was 3-0 or 3-1, and the way West Ham were playing, you would have expected them to win. They went to Brighton and lost. I mean, you wouldn't necessarily expect them to beat Spurs, but Spurs went to Old Trafford and won 3-0. So
Mourinho's last games were he lost to Liverpool 3-1, he beat Fulham 4-1, drew with Arsenal 2-2, drew with Saints 2-2, drew with Palace 0-0, and lost to Man City 3-1. So
yeah,
but they have had a good. I think out of all the teams in the league, they've probably had the best. They've improved the most, and their league position now they're comfortably in sixth, and only 3 points behind Arsenal in fifth now. And so
yeah, but if you look at if you look at the last 5 games, you've got Liverpool, Spurs, and United all got 4 wins out of the last 5. So I mean, form-wise, last 5 games they're top of the table. Well,
I didn't
joint
realise
top.
this. The one thing that when I was looking at the league table earlier is that Arsenal, Man United Arsenal have conceded 31 goals and Man United have conceded 32.
Yeah.
You compare that to Newcastle 15th, who've conceded less, Palace 14th conceded less, and Brighton in 13th have conceded less as well. So,
yeah, but just sorry, and I keep going on about the last 5 games, but look at Arsenal's last 5 games. They lost 3-2 at Saints. They beat Burnley 3-1. They drew 1-1 with Brighton. They lost 5-1 to Liverpool, and then they beat Fulham 4-1. That's no clean sheet. And you've got 3, 4, 5, 10, 11 goals in their last 5 games they've conceded. So you can kind of probably makes a little bit more sense.
But the mid-table teams, so there's like from Leicester in 7th on 31 down to Brighton, I'd say in 13th on 26th. They are all pretty close, and it's only going to take one of them teams to get a couple of wins, and they'll be in the top half of the table anyway.
Yeah.
But I think the interesting thing is the bottom half. So you look at 15th Newcastle on 18 points. I think there's 3 or 4 teams on 18 points actually, but I think Huddersfield now you look 8 points behind they are now of relegation.
Yeah, they're 8 points away.
I don't think is it no team has ever survived being that. I think it's 8 points. I think no team has ever survived from being 8 points behind.
I think they're going to struggle. For me, I mean, although Fulham have improved slightly, I mean they are picking up points, but the teams above them are picking up points as well. I mean, even sort of Burnley, they're a couple of points clear now after a couple of wins. Palace are picking up points. You've got Palace in 14th to Newcastle in 15th. You've got a 4-point gap, but then from Palace up to Leicester in 7th, it's 9 points.
Yeah.
So I think it's it's sort of spreading out a bit. The
Perhaps.
one thing, just very quickly,
Yep.
on mid-table, I just wanted to say something about Everton, because Everton are always a team that every week I seem to say they flatter to deceive, or whatever the saying is. But I know there's been some news in the press today. I think, well, this morning I think it came out about the owners saying that it's basically just not good enough where they are. The expectations should be higher. I mean, they sit in 11th at the moment, 27 points. 31 goals for, 31 goals against, but they've lost 4 of their last 5, with the only win being the 5-1 away at Burnley. But I couldn't agree more with the statements that are
Yeah.
coming out. Everton are just one of those teams that they don't disappoint you, because it's almost you don't expect anything from them sometimes.
No.
But I just wanted to give that a mention, because I just
Well,
think
maybe
their league
maybe.
their league position smack bang in the middle of the table is kind of how I see them.
Oh yeah, when I'd say that's pretty where they are now is where I probably would have predicted they would be round, but anywhere between 10th and 12th really. So,
Yeah,
but I've
but
seen because is this all coming from them in the new stadium where they said when they get their new stadium their aim is going to be to win the league. Did you see that?
well, I mean, what does the stadium do?
That's
Are
the
all the
plan. Yeah,
seats?
they're saying that this new stadium, the plan is they move into the new stadium and within so many years win the league. But
I think that'll only happen, mate, if like they've got robotic goalposts that whichever way Everton are shooting, they sort of expand.
they
Uh,
might be in their new stadium before you are. So
well, yeah. As long as they don't win the league before us, I don't
yeah,
care.
yeah. Careful what you wish for, mate.
Yeah,
Well, well, that kind
that's
of
it.
sums up the Premier League at the moment. And Chelsea for me fallen a little bit behind over Christmas, but you know things I think might get better. But the one thing that they desperately need is a striker. But we will see what's going to happen.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll
As
see, mate. We won't have the League Cup to worry about, so that'd be something off your mind.
we've got in our next 5 league games, we've got Arsenal and Man City away. So
Mm.
fun times. So
Watch
yeah.
this space. Watch this space.
So yeah, so that was the Premier League. Rich, what is happening in the Championship?
Crikey. Well, where do you start? I mean, it literally, there seems to be a new leader at the top of the division, pretty much every week. But the top six sides are sort of as you were, really, as you'd expect. Leeds are top, but again, they've lost their last 2 games, so 3 wins in a row before that. But the form of the teams below them is sort of still allows them to stay at the top. Norwich, who were on an unbelievable run of form, so they've only won 1 of their last 5, so they're second, 2 points behind Leeds. Sheffield United, they've got 3 wins on the bounce, so they're up to third. West Brom are still there, but they haven't won in the last 2. Middlesbrough are always hovering around 5th or 6th, but their form hasn't been great lately. And Derby are up into 6th, but again, they've only won 1 of their last 5. So there isn't really anybody in the top 6 or 8. I mean, so Derby are in 6th for the last playoff place. Forest are in 7th, but they're still 4 points behind. But and then you sort of drop down to your QPRs and your Villas. I think I find Villa a bit like Everton. They sometimes they're
Yeah,
really good, other times
well,
they're terrible. They've only won 1 of their last
they've
5.
got
I
Tammy
guess.
Abraham from Chelsea at the moment. I think he's
Yeah.
I think he's the top goal scorer in the Championship, or joint. I think with
Well,
matey from Sheffield United.
yeah,
But
but to be fair, I mean, he got 5 in 1 game, didn't he, or
well,
4?
4 I think was it.
Yeah, and then to be the form team in the division is Hull. 5 wins out of 5. for
They've
Hull
had a good
City.
Christmas.
Yeah, they have. Then you've got Stoke mid-table, but
Obviously, they've just
Gary Rowett's he's just been
so
sacked
the guy that's taken over, Nathan Jones,
from
he
Luton.
is an old Yeovil player. He played for Yeovil. He's assistant manager at Yeovil for a bit.
Oh, Stoke are screwed then.
I thought it's an
they're,
interesting choice though
they're going to plummet.
for
Well, but I mean, Luton are
I
flying,
know he's
aren't they?
doing well,
Really?
yeah, but it's just
I mean, I actually tipped Stoke at the beginning of the season to win that league. If you look at the players they've got, like Tom Ince, Joe Allen,
yeah.
Afobe, Crouchy's on the bench quite a lot of the time.
Have you seen
Uh,
how many games they've drawn, Stoke? In the
yeah,
last
like,
what,
like
3, 4,
11.
huge
So they've
amount of
got
games they've drawn.
11 draws,
Because they went
8 wins, 7 defeats.
10 games without losing, but 7 of them were draws.
Yeah, crazy. Obviously they've got Butland in goal. I think there's still Shawcross is still there. I mean, squad wise, they've got a decent squad.
How are they not winning these games? Yeah.
Well,
You're
it's
looking at their
such
squad. It's not.
it's such
It's
a
no
difficult
different. Their
league.
squad is literally. It's almost the same.
I don't think they lost anybody really. Well, Shaqiri, but and then at the bottom of the championship, I mean, it's as you were.
Have Ipswich won yet, Rich? Have they won
They won.
anything over
They
Christmas?
they beat Wigan on the 15th of December, so we were still recording then. Since then, they've got a point at home against Sheffield United. Then they've lost their last 3, but they're now 10 points. They're 10 points away from relegate from the inside the relegation zone. I think they've just had a change of manager, or they've just sacked their manager as well.
McCarthy left, didn't he?
Yeah, and Paul Lambert was there, but no, actually, I think he might still be there. But obviously, they went out.
Yeah,
They went out the FA Cup to Accrington as well, so that's given them no confidence there at all. Reading second to bottom on 20 points, then Bolton in the last relegation place on 22. But I mean, they're 3 points behind Rotherham, so they are a little bit adrift. But nobody seems to want to win. Well, not necessarily win that league, but it's just so topsy-turvy, really. I mean,
well, I saw Sheffield United were top for a little bit.
yeah, they were.
Christmas.
Obviously, Norwich were top before Christmas.
Yeah.
West Brom, they're so inconsistent. I guess the thing is, Derby in 6th to Forest in 7th. Like I say, it's 4 points. But there's the same. Bristol City down in 11th. So they're only a point behind Forest. So they're only 5 points out of it. Swansea are having an okay season as well. So, I mean, without going through every game over Christmas, there's been some upsets. I mean, Leeds lost 4-2, didn't they, to Forest in the last round of fixtures? But as always, and it always will be, the Championship is a tight division. And to be honest, until it's mathematically set, you can't really say who's going to finish where.
Just because I'm a bit of a Derby, following them a little bit at the moment because of Lampard. Weren't they losing to Norwich 3-2 and then they scored twice in injury time and they ended up winning 4-3 against Norwich? I swear.
They did.
Was it injury time?
Yeah, what happened? Just quickly, what happened in that game is one of the floodlights failed.
Oh.
So in about the 80, I think it was the 82nd or 83rd minute, the game was postponed and the players went off. And at that point, Norwich were 3-2 up with about 7 minutes to go, but there was quite a lengthy delay. And yeah, admittedly, I remember I was watching the telly when it was 3-2, and then I checked the result after because it must have finished sort of 20-25 minutes after all the other games. Yeah, Derby won 4-3. So I don't know what happened in that period. I don't know what Frankie Lampard did to them. But yeah. Anyway, so yeah, watch this space for the Championship. We'll give you some confirmed details in May, I think, when we actually, because it's all going to change, I'm sure.
As long as Leeds don't win the league, I'll be happy.
I think they will, mate. To be honest, but we'll see.
Cool. So let's straight on to League One then, Rich.
Yeah, well, League One is well, there's not an awful lot of difference here, to be honest. Pompey is still top. So they've had quite
They are
a
going well, aren't they?
yeah, they've had quite a productive period over Christmas. They did lose away at Gillingham, which I guess was a bit of a shock, but
Didn't they beat
three wins
Norwich
in the
in the FA
last
Cup as
5.
well?
Yeah, Norwich were down to 10 men for a lot of that game though. Luton are in second, but sorry, yeah, Pompey are 5 points clear. Luton 52 points, but they've drawn their last 2 games. Sunderland have dropped some points recently. They've had 2 wins and 2 draws in their last 4. Then it's Charlton, Barnsley, and Doncaster, which complete the playoff places. Peterborough are just outside by a point, but Peterborough have always been in the playoff places when we've spoken about it before. So they've dropped out a bit. They've only won 1 of their last 5, which isn't great form. At the bottom, it's pretty tight at the bottom, to be honest. It's tighter than some of the other divisions. So Wimbledon are bottom. They've got 22 points, but they have won 2 of their last 5. Then Plymouth are on 24 points, Oxford on 26, Bradford on 27. But then even up to Gillingham in 19th, so 2 places outside of the relegation, they're only a point outside. So Bristol Rovers are out of relegation now, Chris. You'll be pleased to hear.
Well, yeah, they've won 3 out of the last. I don't think they've lost.
Yeah, they have. Yeah, well, undefeated in their last 4, but 3 wins. But they're only out of the relegation zone on goal difference. But so Wimbledon in 24th, up to Gillingham in 19th. It's only 6 points. So to cover those places, that's not that many points really. So there'll probably be some movement. Teams in the middle of the table, if you look at Wickham, for example, so they've lost their last 4. Blackpool haven't won in 5. Rochdale 3 defeats in a row. But it just shows like Scunthorpe are in 17th as an example. They've won their last 3, so they've sort of come right out of relegation where they're now sort of 4 points clear. So usual suspects at the top. But yeah, Pompey. I mean, 5 points clear. If they carry on, you've got to think they'll be there or thereabouts. Sunderland have got a few games in hand. They've got 1 on Pompey, but 2 on Charlton. So if Sunderland do win their game in hand, they go 3 points behind Pompey, but top 2 go up automatically. And if Luton do lose their manager, it'd be interesting to see. Oh, he has gone. Okay.
Yeah, they've appointed.
So it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to see what. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. So.
Be a nice job to take over, though, wouldn't it? Luton sitting in second,
yeah, but I mean, you can go the other way where if you sort of totally turn their season around and it went the other way, it's not going to do good for you, is it? So
no.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Cool. We'll move over to League 2. Now League 2 is a bit odd in the fact that a lot of teams have got games in. So some teams have played 25, 26, 27 games. So a few teams do have games in hand. So the table isn't, where it probably might be in the next couple of weeks when these teams play their games in hand. But anyway, Lincoln are still top of the league. They did lose 1 game over Christmas away to Crewe, but other than that, they've had straight wins. But MK Dons, so they're now 4 points behind Lincoln in second. The only game that they won over Christmas was on New Year's Day when they beat Cambridge 6-0. Other than that, it was 2 losses and a draw. Bury in third and Mansfield in fourth. They literally have not changed. They've been third and fourth pretty much for the last 5-6 weeks. But Carlisle are the informed team in League 2 at the moment. 5 wins from 5 over Christmas. They've actually won their last 6 games, and some impressive results as well. So they've beaten Oldham 6-0, Colchester 4-0. They've won away games to Morecambe and Crawley as well. So they're flying. So they're actually are the new team within the playoffs at the moment, but they are a team that have played 27 games. So there are teams around them that have got games in hand. So yeah, Forest Green in 6th and Exeter in 7th. Colchester 8th and Tram in 9th. All have had good Christmas periods. But again, like I said, they've all played less games than the rest of the league. But are only... So you've got Bury in 3rd on 46 and Colchester in 8th on 43. So there is literally just 3 points separating, 7 positions there. So even MK Dons are on 47. So Colchester in 8th. They're only 4 points off second. So, not too quite tightly compact at the top. At the bottom, Macclesfield are finally off the bottom of the league.
Woohoo!
The Sol Campbell effect is in full flow.
That's what we've all been waiting for.
Yeah, they have only won twice in the last 6, but they have drawn twice as well. And the 2 games that they've actually lost, they've only lost by a goal, so they're much improved. Which means Notts County have slipped down to bottom of the league, unfortunately. Only 1 win in... Well, they won. They beat Tranmere 3-2, but before that they hadn't won for 3 months. So
there's very few wins in there. If you look at like the sort of bottom 6, 7 teams, there's not a lot of numbers going in the win column.
One noticeable team down in 22nd now. Yeovil.
We'll save that for later, Chris.
Cambridge, Morecambe, and Port Vale. This league is very split between the bottom 8, 9 teams are really struggling to get anything, whilst the top half of the table are just picking these teams off one by one. But top goal scorer in the league, Norwood and Stockley. But I don't know if you knew this, Rich, but Stockley from Exeter has actually moved.
Used to play for Yeovil.
No, he didn't play for Yeovil. he played for Exeter, who's top goal scorer in the League 2, but I believe he's moved to Preston, I think. So yeah,
it's a step up, isn't it?
So he's moved on now. So whether that will affect them, I'm not too sure. But they haven't done that badly, to be honest, over Christmas. But yeah, the league, like I said, 4 miles, Carlisle 5 out of 5. And the worst team in the league are Newport. So Newport were that team that were 3rd and 4th, and they had the negative goal difference, if you remember.
Yeah.
They're actually 13th now. So I know they beat Leicester in the FA Cup, but other than that, in the league, they have really fallen behind, and their -2 goal difference is now a -7 goal difference. So it's going to be unlikely that they recover, shall we say, from this. The last game they won was on the 24th of November. So,
well, there's still a lot of time, isn't there? A lot of time to go.
That is League 2. So, that's kind of the Christmas football sorted. I could probably speak about the A-League, Serie A, La Liga, and all that sort of stuff, but we'll save that for another day.
You watch too much football, mate.
Save it. I don't think I do, but I think other people in this house would probably disagree.
Okay, so we'll be back in part 2 where we'll do a just a brief update of predictions, and then we'll get straight into talking about Yeovil, who have the great pleasure of being our second special topic. We've covered them before, haven't we? I think.
Yeah, I did one with Adam.
Oh, yeah, and all the clips. Yeah, all the sound bites. Yeah, okay. So this is my first experience of talking of Yeovil.
They're not making a comeback.
Damn it. Okay, right. We'll see you in part 2. Hello and welcome back to part 2 of View from the Sideline podcast. So we're going to just give a quick summary of the predictions challenge. As we said at the beginning of this episode, it has carried on over Christmas. The table, there's a few more names in there. A few scores coming through, but Jamie is still top. No one has got near the 30 really.
It seems to be
Since he
really
got it.
hard to get. It seems like
Well,
this is.
well,
It's a great score. It's a
it
great score,
is.
but yeah.
You say that. A week or so ago, I think I got 25. I got 25 last week.
But I think we both have hit 30 this season, haven't we? I
Yeah,
think I'm
30
pretty
is
sure we
30
have
is the
both.
top score. Yeah,
We
we've
have
got it
both.
a couple of times, I think. But just briefly, Chris, your scores lately have been terrible, which
My
has
Christmas,
seen
my Christmas period has been awful.
it's seen your average drop by about 2 points. So you're now
Yeah.
a good solid point behind me. So yeah, we had an FA Cup one last weekend, and it was my sister-in-law Sarah actually who was the guest, and she'll be greatly pleased that she beat my brother and also my nephew. So she's the king of football predictions in their household. But predictions again for this week, where Jimmy's our guest. So we've got the usual 6 games. We'll put that out on social media over the next couple of days. But yeah, we've had quite a few people over Christmas. It's been good, some good scores. But yeah, no one's toppled the 30 yet. So that was predictions. So Chris, I'm not sure if you're looking forward to this or not. I don't
Well,
think you are, but
yeah.
take it away. Talk about Yeovil.
Okay, so I think it's well amongst Yeovil fans. I think they have over the Christmas period, should we say, slightly lost their patience with with Darren Way, the manager. It's not every fan. From I've seen things on Twitter and Facebook. It's not every fan that believes that he should go, but it is the majority of the fans. But so earlier this week, obviously, I did put it out on Twitter, and we got probably the best response I think I've ever had from tweeting out a topic. It got retweeted a lot. I got quite a bit of feedback from people as well, some fans. But just put it in context, really, of what's happened. So Yeovil are currently 22nd in the league. They have got 2 games in hand, but I wouldn't hold hope in them winning those 2 games in hand. But the performances have been, quite frankly, dreadful over Christmas. The last time they won a game of football in the league was against Carlisle on the 27th of October, and they won that game in the 96th minute. So it wasn't like a game that they were dominated. So that's 1 win in the league in the last 18 games. In the last 18 league games, they've won 1 game. Can
Okay,
you
I
remember?
just so they did get a victory in the EFL Cup just from looking from their results, but I'm not too sure what you read into that. So what are we looking at? 10, 11 games without a win?
Yeah, so it's 9, 10
10,
games
yeah,
without a
10
win.
games.
But before that, this is how much it is. Can you remember? This is probably our second or third week we did the podcast. Yeovil beat Newport 6-0 away from home.
I do remember a time
Remember?
when they were flying pretty high.
Yeah, that was the last time. So they won that game 6-0. That's incredible. That's 15th of September. They've won 2 games since the 15th. They've not won a home game in the league since the 25th of August.
That's sort of a couple of weeks into the season.
That was the 3rd game of the season. They've won 1 game at home all season. The other 3 wins they've got have all been away. It's just crazy. So just before, so I think in between Christmas and New Year, the assistant manager left, Terry Skiverton. and they've lost 5 players in the last 9 days where contracts have been terminated. So they've lost at least 2 of their best players. They have got a couple of injuries, but personally, for me, I don't like seeing managers get sacked. But I think it is time for him to leave. But there is a but. There is a but. Amongst the Yeovil fans, there has always been this thing where the chairman and the people in charge are very, very tight with their money. And to sack him, the thought of them having to spend money to sack him will probably stop them from sacking him. And I believe if they don't change their manager, they don't bring someone else in, I think that they'll be playing in the National League next season. And that from 6 seasons ago when they were playing in the Championship against the teams like you said earlier when you were doing the review, Leeds, Sheffield United, Reading, Bolton, all those teams they were playing against 6 seasons ago. And the thought of next season, and this is no, I'm not saying these teams are bad, but they'll be playing against teams in the National League. It's just it's just one of those things where you just can't believe what you are seeing. I've personally,
but Chris, just to
go
interject, so because I mean you're a lot more in the know than I am.
Yeah.
Are you saying it's purely down, or the main reason is the manager?
I think the player, like
have we got another Mourinho sort of
Mourinho, I think that they're not managed well enough, and I think that they have lost confidence. Confidence, it is literally, it must be at such a low at the moment, because what I'm seeing from fans on Twitter week in, week out, is just that they're not playing for the manager at the moment. They're not playing as a team.
Chris, I'm just going to interject for 1 second, purely because it's live. City are 7-0 up.
Is that it?
Yeah, 7-0 with 25 minutes to go. Sorry, carry on.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Why couldn't we got better now? It's a fix. But anyway, so like I said, the majority of the people, the fans, they want him to leave the club. But anyway, so like I said earlier on this week, I asked for people to get in touch through Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, with their opinions on what they think of what's happening at the club. So I'll go through some of these because some of them are quite funny. So one of the social accounts for Yeovil, a website run by members, sent me a link to the website with some feedback. That was pretty good, but there was a lot of feedback on it. It's like a forum basically. But yeah, there was some things on there that were not positive. Also had another young man tweet called Callum. He messaged me saying that the manager is tactically inept. Fry, who was the owner, couldn't run a marathon, let alone a club, and the only investment which has been made in the last 10 years is into his new driveway. Also, and he's actually sticking up for the manager. He says also, it's never Way's fault, which is sarcastic, by the way, and the fans are clueless about football other than that it's all good. Also, so Adam, who's done a podcast with us before, he said that Darren Way, who's the manager, is the main issue at Yeovil. He is out of his depth and doesn't have a plan B, blames everyone apart from himself, and says the fans don't know about football. So he actually said that in a press conference. So he's losing the fans. At the bottom of the form table in the last 18 games in the top 4 divisions, and he's still in charge. 1 win at home this season. 5 players have already left in January. No players in. The board say there is no money available, so looking like National League, here we come. Frustrating thing is, this season started so well, but injuries to our key players have been a massive impact, which we've never recovered.
Okay, sorry, I'm gonna come in again, Chris.
Yep.
So, realistically, so being a Yeovil follower that you are, at the
Yeah.
beginning of the season,
Yeah.
what was the realistic expectation? I mean,
They were
from
top
when we
seven.
from when we've spoken before,
Yeah.
Yeovil have always been there or thereabouts in sort of the bottom area of the table. They've survived. Correct me if I'm wrong. They've survived
So last season,
relegation
last season
a
they
couple of
survived it.
or last season. But are you realistically saying that you would have expected them to be in or around the
Well,
playoffs
the
come the end of the
players,
season?
yeah, the players that they bought in are more than capable of getting in the top seven. But the problem is, Rich, the players that they bring in are all loan players. They don't buy. They don't tend to buy players, and they give players such short contracts, only 1 year contracts. They just end up leaving because they see that the club's in free fall, and that's probably why 5 of these players have already left this month because of it. And
So there's no stability
and
with
the
the players.
crowds are getting lower and lower and lower each week. From when they were in the championship, I think they were averaging about 5,000-6,000 a game. Now, I think they're lucky to get over one and a
Yeah,
half.
yeah. I mean, I don't want to sort of play devil's advocate, but I guess part of that's to be expected.
Oh yeah, I
I
would
think
expect that.
I
I've
think
put them
if
on
you
this
if you,
season because
yeah,
the
but I
performance
mean,
is not.
there's a lot of teams that would have a lot more fans coming to watch matches if they were in a higher division. Um, but I guess that sorry, Man City have just got 8 now. Um, just think you could be a Burton fan. That would be pretty poor at the moment. But so I get what you're saying. I'm just trying to get some sort of context around it.
Yeah, no. So I've had quite a few bits of feedback. So this is another one. This one's quite a
I-
long one.
I'm assuming it's majority of it is negative.
9. So the people that contacted me, 100%
Right.
was
Okay.
negative. I've seen bits and pieces saying, give them a chance. What else? What else is out there? You know, just bits and bobs really. But it's the stuff. I suppose you really only see the negative side of things on Twitter anyway, don't you? There's not much positive stuff that goes around on there. But anyway, this one is quite a lengthy one. But it's someone that obviously loves the club, very much, and is quite angry, let's say, at what the current situation is. So uh, he started off the tweet by just saying the last 5 seasons they've had 2 relegations from Championship League One, and then the last 3 seasons in League Two they finished in the bottom 6. So this is what he had to say. So it started in the Championship. The owners never wanted to get promoted to it because they would have had to pump money in and it would have only just got relegated. And if they would have invested it a bit more, they could have done the impossible and stayed up. So basically, he's saying there that the owners never really wanted Yeovil to go up to the Championship because they felt they would have had to invest more money into the club, which they didn't want to do. Anyway, so they got relegated. League One, all they wanted that season was to finish mid-table after getting the Championship money, but that didn't happen. Gary Johnson got sacked, and they ended up getting relegated. So League Two. So the start of League Two, the club appointed Paul Sturrock, who was going through a few personal issues at the time, which was an odd signing. Paul Sturrock, I must say, he got sacked, and then that's when Darren Way took over. So Darren Way did a great job, kept us up, deserved to get the job. Since then, there's been no progression, and we find ourselves battling relegation again and again. The owners are refusing to give the manager any money. In a recent supporters trust meeting, he said some unbelievable things, which he said to look up on the forums. He said They now can't afford to sign any players in January because of the financial rules, because of their poor income this season due to fans not obviously turning up to the games, not
So it's
having a good
the fans' fault.
not having a good cup run, so they lost to Stockport 3-1 at home in the FA Cup. At the end of last season, he said, next season we are looking to be top 7. If anyone can't help us achieve that, they shouldn't be here. He said 1 win in 18, and he gets given a new 2-year contract. I don't know if you were aware of that, Rich.
I think you may have mentioned that previously.
So he got given a new contract for 2 years. So the owners now will never sack him, as the cost of that will be too much. We are stuck with a tactically inept manager who I believe the players have stopped playing for. The last 3 home games, they have chanted for him to leave, and he still doesn't walk away. We also released Tom Eaves on a free, as Wade didn't think he could cut it in League Two. He's gone on to sign for Gillingham, and he's the top one of the top scorers in League One. And then he just said, bits and bobs about his previous experiences, asking if I've been to see him this season. I told him no. So yeah,
I've just got a few more questions, Chris, just to put a bit more meat on the bone. So the current manager,
Downway.
Yeah. What's his? I have been listening. I just couldn't remember his name. What's his ties to Yeovil?
So
has he got any links to the club?
Played for Yeovil, played for Swansea as well. Then came back when he retired from football. Did have a nasty car crash. He actually nearly lost his life, which is obviously quite sad at the time. But he came back, fought back from that, and he was a coach and assistant manager, and then got given the job when Sturrock left.
And from the owner's perspective, have they got money to put into the club? Because I think
this is the thing. Yeah, this is the thing.
I'm just thinking from the manager's point of view. I think you don't see many managers resign these days because it's not financially beneficial for them to resign, and I think it's all right the board saying that, or not necessarily the board or the fans or the people that have contributed to the conversation saying that they can't afford to sack him. That seems like a bit of a cop out to me, because you would, I guess you would have to weigh up the financial risk of dropping down to non-league football versus, I mean, he's not going to be on mega money. We're not talking Premier League sort of salary, but
we're talking probably a couple thousand.
I guess it's all relative, but it just seems to be from what you said the board have said and stuff. There seems to be a lot of excuses as to why the club is in the position it is. There's an answer to everything.
It's just the fact that the money has come in through. So last season they played Man United in the FA Cup third round TV game. Made quite a bit of money off that, but the money wasn't put towards players or put towards anything really. I think it just went into the owners' pockets. And I think that's what frustrates the fans the most, is that I think they believe that the owners do have money, but they're just not willing to put it back into the club. This is probably why they find themselves in now 22nd in the league. They've got to change something around, and losing players in January is not ideal. Again, it's probably going to mean that they're going to have to loan more players. And these loan players, they didn't play together before. They're just handpicked from the league above or the championship. And,
I guess sort of in summary, there's two ways to look at it. You only need 2 teams to be worse than you to stay in that division. But what is the view going into the next season if there's no changes at the club, if the manager's still there, if the owners are still there, if you're still in a position as a team where you're sort of relying on loan players and there's such a turnover of staff because they're on a season-long loan or something like that, and is the club less appealing because of what's happened this season for players to come in next year? So do you know what I mean? It's like it's the lesser of two evils, I guess. If you could,
Yeah,
if they stay in the division, that's not necessarily the best thing for them. If that
no,
makes
you're
sense. I'm
right.
not saying relegation's a good thing to happen, but sometimes you need a bit of a wake up call. But I mean, you could, like you mentioned before, 2 games in hand. If they win those games, I mean, it sort of takes them up 4 or 5 places.
It's the winning.
Um, well, yeah,
That's
but
the hard
that's it.
part at the
That's
moment.
it.
They
But
just, you know,
they're 3 points outside of relegation at the moment. Even if you pick up 1 win or 2 draws, that gives you that little bit of a buffer. But maybe that's just sort of sticking a plaster over it. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, no,
And
that's what I mean.
not actually facing up to the problem. But I mean, on the plus, from a selfish point of view, from the podcast, it's good that we got such sort of interest
Yeah,
on that
no, it
topic.
was
It's
good. It was good.
so
Um,
thanks to everyone who sent us their comments.
yeah, thank you very much to everyone that did reply. I
Who
did.
have they got next? Just quickly, who are they up against next?
Oh
So
God,
they're away at Mansfield. So
might be easy. The man's trying to top half.
yeah, well, fourth. Yeah, they're fourth. Maybe that's something to revisit next week. We can see how they got on, see if it's a better position or not.
I'll have to wait and see.
We'll
Anyway,
see.
we'll leave it
So
there.
yeah, good chat.
Yeah,
So we'll just pick up the teaser answer
yeah.
quickly before we
So
finish for today.
the 2 players that have scored 4 goals between Boxing Day and 3rd of January are.
So I'm pretty confident on one, which I think is Son at Spurs. I think.
And the second one.
I'm torn. They both play for the same club, but I'm torn.
Ooh,
I'm torn between Pogba and Rashford. Rashford.
you're going with Rashford.
Yeah.
You've got them both wrong.
Both wrong. Oh,
Both
damn
wrong.
it. I was pretty
Son's got
confident on
3.
Son.
Son's got 3.
Oh.
You were almost right with one.
Is Pogba right?
Pogba is 1. Yeah, Pogba's got 4.
Oh,
The other
damn
one
it.
plays for Liverpool. It's Firmino. He scored a hat-trick in 1 game.
Oh, he don't count.
He got a single goal in the game
He
after.
don't count.
They were the leading
Oh,
scorers over Christmas.
I was pretty confident there.
Rashford got 2, I think. I think Rashford got 2.
I'm very impressed, Chris, with your. I'm going to break you in easy. It's quite an easy
That
teaser.
teaser took ages to do, by the way, because I had to go through nearly every game over Christmas to find out who
Well,
scored goals.
I've spent most of my Christmas sat down eating dry roasted peanuts, Chris.
A lot of peanuts, not gonna lie.
A lot of peanuts.
I've eaten a lot
A lot
of
of
everything.
peanuts. Okay, good one.
Yeah.
Good.
Anyway, that is all we got time for this week. Good to be back, and we'll be back again next week. But we will obviously all over the social media, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Predictions will be going up shortly, probably either tomorrow or Friday. What day are we now? What day are we?
Wednesday.
I'm still
I think
still in that mode where, between Christmas and New Year, where you just haven't got a clue.
the predictions will be up tomorrow on social media, and we'll get the links out to this episode on social media as well. Just to point the listeners in the direction of the website. So we've got 2 new blog entries which have gone on today, where Chris has done a review on the bottom 6 teams in the Premier League and sort of season so far. A bit of a, I don't know, like a A+ rating thing, if you like. And I've done the top 6 teams, so they're now available to read on the website. If you want to go on there and take a look, and all the other blog entries are on there as well.
Cool. So I will see you guys next week.
Yep. Speak to you next week.